Tonight, anti-Trudeau protesters show up at their Liberal leader's campaign stop in Newmarket. A quick campaign stop with intense emotions. We'll have more from day 22 on the campaign trail.
We had the largest number of food bank visits ever in our sort of recorded history.
And as we get closer to Election Day, calls grow for a bigger conversation about food insecurity.
You see them, and maybe one day, maybe one day myself or any of the other kids might have the chance to do that.
As the Paralympic Games come to a close, some young fans here at home are inspired by the triumphs of Canada's Paralympians.
This is CBC Late Night News.
Good evening. I'm Marivel Tarouk. We begin in Newmarket, where Liberal Party leader Justin Trudeau held a short campaign stop. CBC's Hannah Thibodeau is covering the Trudeau campaign and has more.
Hundreds of protesters greeted Liberal leader Justin Trudeau as he arrived for a rally in Newmarket, Ontario tonight. That's just north of Toronto. When the bus pulled in, the protesters sort of surrounded the bus as Trudeau got off. He waved to the crowd when he did. The people who were surrounding the bus, they in fact had a tactical unit that had to keep them back. This was a delayed rally, not by much because the events were running a bit behind today, but the protesters, they were making obscene gestures, they were saying rude comments. Some didn't want to get vaccines, others were against vaccine passports. There were some racial slurs that were shouted at some of the people who were in attendance. Trudeau seemed to want to defy the fact that the protesters were there. He seemed like he did not want to have this rally shut down, and it wasn't shut down. He went in at one point and there was a crowd. He was about 20 feet away from them. He actually waved to the crowd, he pointed at them, touched his heart, and you could see that riled them up. They were cursing at the Liberal leader, and then he continued on. The whole event lasted 8.5 minutes. It was very short, but it was highly intense. There were over 30 security there. Justin Trudeau didn't get back onto the bus. He, in fact, had to go out the other way. It was an SUV. He was swept away in that. And there was also tactical unit in that vehicle with him. So yes, another protest. This time it did not shut down the event for Justin Trudeau, and thankfully everything went smoothly, and it was still an event that continued on. Hannah Thibodeau, CBC News, Markham, Ontario.
And today, an apparent reversal by the Conservative leader on the issue of gun control. Erin O'Toole has received criticism for not clarifying his precise policy on firearms. But now he is saying a Conservative government would not immediately repeal a ban introduced by the Liberals last year. Travis Danraj has the details.
He came up behind us and started shooting. My daughter was actually the first one shot.
Next week will mark 15 years since the lives of survivors Kathleen Dixon and her daughter were forever scarred. The 2006 shooting at Montreal's Dawson College still haunts her.
Just being at the hospital with her and watching the chaos of parents coming in, looking for their children because they hadn't been able to get in touch with them.
The shooter was armed with a Beretta CX-4 Storm, one of the firearms banned by the Liberal government last year. In his platform, Erin O'Toole promised to repeal the ban, but now?
We're maintaining the ban from assault weapons and the restrictions put in place in 2020.
Until they can do their own review on how various weapons are classified.
We need to take back Canada.
After days of questions and the Liberals hitting him hard, the Conservative leader insists he won't roll back a 2020 order in council banning 1,500 assault-style rifles, even though page 90 of his platform promises to do just that.
Over the past few days, he's tried to deceive Canadians about it. Oh, I meant the 1977 law. Oh, I sort of meant this one, but okay, now I'm going to say my platform is wrong.
The Liberals highlighted the fact Fred Delory, O'Toole's campaign manager, was a lobbyist for the National Firearms Association, a group that is standing by the Conservative leader.
I am confident that Mr. O'Toole is a consistent, stalwart person who is going to stand by what he has said.
For Kathleen Dixon, the importance of upholding the ban is clear.
It still sends my heart racing to this day when I think about it. We need to protect the public from these types of weapons.
Travis Stanraj, CBC News, Ottawa.
As the campaign enters its final stretch, there are calls for a more thorough national conversation about food insecurity. The problem has only grown since the pandemic began, with the Daily Bread Food Bank in Toronto now saying August is on track to be its busiest month ever. Kate McGillivray has those details.
Food insecurity has been a growing issue since the pandemic began. But instead of getting better as the Ontario economy began reopening, the Daily Bread Food Bank says the problem got worse.
In June, we had the largest number of food bank visits ever in our sort of recorded history, with 124,000 client visits in the month of June.
Hetherington says the August numbers aren't in yet, but look like they'll be even higher.
CERB is expiring. Protections against eviction will be up very, very soon. And people's savings, people's reliance or dependence on family and friends is depleted.
Paramount Fine Foods CEO Mohamed Faki spent his day preparing 500 meals in Regent Park.
Well, today we have peri-peri chicken, and we have definitely vegetable salads, and we do give them some fruit.
Faki's goal is to feed Torontonians who are in need today and to draw attention to the larger problem ahead of the election.
I mean, we've seen a lot of great initiative from the federal government, but we can do much more and much better. And I'm hoping the last 2 weeks of this federal election, we take more seriously the conversation about ending homelessness and food insecurity.
The question then is what that would look like, and the answer might not have much to do with food charities or free meals. Instead, Hetherington says it's about affordability and the cost of living, two issues that are top of mind for Canadian voters going into the election.
And when you get affordable housing done right, you don't end up with food banks. You don't end up with the symptoms of poverty.
He's encouraged to see the parties take positions on things like housing and low-cost childcare.
And I think voters just need to discern very deliberately which of the platforms will lead to affordability for Canadians.
In the meantime, food banks are still being called on to fill the gaps, with busy months expected up ahead. Kate McGillivray, CBC News, Toronto.
Today, the province reported 811 new COVID-19 cases. It marks the fourth day in a row where cases have been above 800. Here's the regional breakdown. Out of the new cases reported today with known vaccination status, just over 64% were in unvaccinated people. 13% had a single dose, and about 22% had 2 doses. As of Saturday, there were 266 people with COVID-19 in hospital in Ontario, including 179 in the ICU. Now, due to Labor Day, tomorrow's COVID-19 data will be released on Tuesday. In Toronto, the effort to get more people vaccinated continued today with mobile vaccine clinics. Throughout the weekend, the city has been using TTC buses to bring more access to anyone needing a first or second dose. Toronto City Councillor Joe Cressy says breaking down barriers is vital at this stage in the vaccine campaign.
In Toronto, we have our mobile strategy, which is deploying about 200 mobile clinics every week. And it's a hyper-local strategy, which is data-led. We're looking at specific neighborhoods, specific apartment buildings, specific townhouse complexes where vaccine rates are lower. We're bringing mobile clinics to those areas, and then there's a huge piece of outreach around that. These are neighborhood ambassadors the city has hired who are literally going door to door in multiple languages before the clinics arrive. Kind of like an election, except we're talking to you about vaccines, not asking for your vote. Right. In our city, it's not the younger generation. In fact, 18 to 30-year-olds, more than 90% in Toronto have been vaccinated with their first shot. Rather, it's 30 to 50-year-olds, primarily frontline workers, often racialized Torontonians who are frontline shift workers who either need some more information or frankly need the time to be able to get a shot, which is why we bring the clinics to them.
According to the province, about 77% of eligible Ontarians are now fully vaccinated. Well, starting on Tuesday, international travelers who meet entry conditions will be allowed to enter Canada without having to quarantine for 14 days. Travelers must have proof that they are fully vaccinated with an approved COVID-19 vaccine at least 14 days before arrival, be asymptomatic, and have taken a valid pre-arrival COVID-19 test. They must also be willing to take a COVID-19 test if selected. Toronto's Pearson International Airport is warning passengers they should expect longer wait times starting on Tuesday due to the greater number of people they expect to be arriving. Marches were held in several Canadian cities today, marking 1,000 days since the detention in China of Michael Spavor and Michael Kovrig. Kovrig's wife spoke at the event in Ottawa.
What I do every day and what I fight for every day is to find a solution to finally bring him home. It has been too long. The injustice is heartbreaking, and it has to come to an end. So regardless of what happens in the Chinese legal system, the solution has to be political and diplomatic.
The event's theme was walking 7,000 steps, the number Michael Kovrig is said to walk each day in his cell. Kovrig and Spavor were detained on espionage charges in 2018. It's widely seen as retaliation for Huawei executive Meng Wanzhou's arrest in Vancouver 9 days earlier. For some university students, this long weekend was spent packing and moving into residence. The University of Toronto is one of many schools mandating vaccines. They've also instituted other safety protocols. Students are arriving in groups of 16 in different time slots throughout the day to allow for physical distancing. And while the pandemic may have added back-to-school complications for more than a year, some parents are just happy to help their kids make this transition.
It's been hard having her at home all the time, so I think she's really looking forward to getting back to having some social life.
Just very nervous, excitement, butterflies. You know, she's my youngest, so I'm probably going to be more tears than she will. I will be changed, but yeah, it's good. I'm happy for her. Yeah.
It's not really. It is a little bit sad also, but he chose to stay here. It should be a happy moment. He is moving ahead in his life, so.
Oh, all of the feels.
Someday, Sophia, before you know it, that's going to be you.
You know what? Not that far away, maybe 10 years or so, and that's crazy when you think about it. We're laying out the shorts and t-shirts and the unicorn backpacks right now as we speak.
Well, enjoy that while you got it.
Oh, thank you. And shorts will be the name of the game for back to school for many of the kids, which is great news if you are planning that back to school outfit. It was a really comfortable evening as well tonight. Rain will push into the overnight period. The gardens could use it. If you're like me, you haven't been watering at all, but it'll be kind of like it was this morning. Sort of patchy, isolated showers, everything all cleared by the afternoon, except for maybe a few lake effect showers that could be north and west of the city. Comfortable, seasonal second half of your Labor Day Monday. This is all really good for the big Labor Day Classic game. I'll show you the forecast in a minute, but I do want to let you know it will be a little gusty on the western edge of Lake Ontario between Hamilton to Niagara. If you're planning a beach day at the Burlington or the Hamilton Beach or out at Niagara tomorrow. Okay, so if you are out at Tim Hortons Field, it will be glorious for the big game. 22 at kickoff and just about the same for your drive home. Could have some patchy showers elsewhere in the province for the evening, but that's okay because many of you will be busy packing lunches tomorrow night. Back to school forecast, as promised, is gorgeous. Shorts are certainly on the table or on the bedside table right now, but watch as the humidity continues to build throughout the day in that feels like, and so does the gusty winds. That's because there is some storm potential for later Tuesday evening, and I'll talk about that a little bit more in the long range for you and give you your back to school Wednesday forecast as well.
Okay. You know what? The unicorn backpack is going to save it all. Thanks,
priceless.
Sophia. The federal government says roughly 500 Afghan refugees have resettled in Ontario and that it can't implement its rescue plan without the support of local organizations. As Dale Manukduk reports, communities across the GTA have stepped up in a big way.
We have women, and then we have boxes for men.
Salam Foundation has been collecting donations for Afghan refugees resettling here in Ontario and are distributing them to organizations around the GTA.
We've put out a call on our social media and through our own contacts to try to get as much resources as we can. So today we have a pickup of the donations that are behind us.
Clothing, food, diapers, the response has been overwhelming. Salam Foundation had to alert the public they'd reached their limit.
My sister was collecting in Brampton, and we just kept getting calls upon calls.
The foundation's founder, Sajida Habib, believes the strong scenes from the Kabul airport motivated the support.
When we sit in our comfortable homes, in a comfortable, we're watching TV calmly and we see the images coming in, it really impacts us.
The Ministry of Immigration, Refugees and Citizenship says refugees are matched with communities where settlement supports are already in place. So far, Canada has helped roughly 3,700 people leave Afghanistan.
They just run away with their clothes on. I think they come in here without any knowledge of what's going to happen here. They have probably no community members expecting them here. They probably are, they left everything behind.
Based out of Ajax, Children Without Borders is helping run one of the hotels that Afghan refugees are staying in and are one of the organizations that received delivery from Salam Foundation.
They're very, very grateful, and they're happy to be in Canada. They're happy to have a safer country to live in, and they're happy to be here so their kids can have a better future.
The organization has raised nearly $350,000 for Afghan refugee support. Meanwhile, Salam Foundation is gearing up for another round of donations and are specifically looking for underwear for all ages, shoes, and purses. Dale Manukduk, CBC News, Toronto.
Meanwhile, forces opposing the Taliban in Afghanistan say they're ready to negotiate an end to the fighting. Their leader, Ahmad Massoud, says the forces agree in principle to a truce, followed by peace talks that religious scholars have proposed. Massoud's fighters are staging a resistance to the Taliban in the Panjshir Valley. The Taliban today said they had entered the region's capital, but a similar claim Friday of military victory has not been substantiated. Exciting news for football fans. The Labor Day Classic is finally back tomorrow. The pandemic halted the long-running rivalry between the Toronto Argonauts and Hamilton Tiger Cats for 2 years. Now they'll play in front of fans once again for their 50th meeting in the Labor Day Classic. It will also be the Ticats' first game in front of a crowd in 659 days. Safety protocols allow a maximum of 15,000 fans inside Tim Hortons Field. And after tomorrow's game, the two teams will meet again on Friday, but at Toronto's BMO Field. Glad the next Olympic Paralympics are 5 months away, Sophia, because that inspiration I don't want to let go of.
Oh, reach for the stars, kids. Yeah. Anything is possible, right? Awesome, awesome, awesome stories. Definitely things to look up to. And great things to look forward to in the long-range forecast, too, especially for all of those kids who will be heading back to school. It is a picture-perfect back-to-school forecast. Bit of storm potential. It'll be into the evenings, Tuesday and Wednesday, and a seasonal long-range forecast. We said it yesterday, how long has it been since we've been able to have that lack of that sticky, soupy humidity? What you see is what you get for this upcoming long-range forecast. I'm going to lay the humidity, the feels like, in over top of this. And really, it's just Tuesday that spikes a little bit, and here is why. That soupiness comes back in, and so does some potential storm energy. It's widespread throughout much of Ontario and especially potent into the south. There is the potential late Tuesday evening for some severe storms to spark up. It really depends on timing and daytime heating and how quick into the afternoon some of that storm energy comes up. But really, much of your back to school day for all of those kids, as we mentioned on Tuesday, will be really, really good. Seasonal values, really nice southerly flow of wind, and a bit of a warmer feels like. More of the same for your Wednesday. Seasonal should be about 23 this time of year, and you're bang on for that Tuesday, Wednesday, and really the rest of the long-range forecast. But as we head into the rest of September, there still is the chance for some of that warm, soupy humidity to come back. It's going to be a fairly warm first half of this upcoming fall season. And then Christmas, right around the corner, Maribel.
Oh my gosh, you said Christmas.
Sorry.
Okay.
Too soon? Too soon.
We'll see you next week, Sophia. Thanks.
Bye.
And that is our show for you tonight. Thank you for watching. What we are going to leave you